Now, I know in our last Cleveland Cavaliers video, we made a joke about the Cleveland Cavaliers being... That is a hard word to say. Cleveland. It feels like I'm swallowing the word. I'm saying like Cleveland instead of Cleveland. Yeah, we're just gonna go with the land. I'm just gonna keep that in there anyways. Everybody's ragging on the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. It's not a good look. They still got a great core with Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and Allen. They've got pieces in Hunter and Strus. But I'm gonna defend the Cleveland Cavaliers today. I think they didn't under or overperform expectations. They performed right where they're supposed to go. Allow me to explain. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell in this tenor, so far they've been first rounded by Mitchell Robinson. They got second rounded when they weren't healthy against the Boston Celtics and took a game off of the Boston Celtics in 2024. And now this year, they faced injuries again, and they got second rounded by Tyrese Halliburton. This Cavs team in most people's brackets going into the new year, this current NBA season, they were the third or fourth seed in the East. They went on a 15-0 start. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, championship, championship, championship. People overreacted to the early success of the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is very 2024 Oklahoma City Thunder, where they were the clear number one seed in the West. SGA took the leap, and then the Mavs got them on a 6, and everybody was disappointed. Oh, well, they were the number one seed and they choked. No, they're a young team. Mitchell's the oldest guy in this core. Garland is now just getting playoff experience. Same with Mobley, same with Allen. Allen 2 years ago was saying the playoff lights were too bright. There's room for these guys to grow, and realistically speaking, you're a second round exit after you got second round exited last year. How is that considered a failure? There's no reason to consider that a failure when you're just meeting the same mark. I'm not saying that this Cavs team did not have a lot of potential. I'm not saying that this Cavs team did not underperform in terms of what they've shown us before, but realistically, we got baited by the regular season. We gotta be honest, the Cavs team that was beating the Thunder, that was beating the Celtics, we got baited by the regular season. The playoffs is just a completely different atmosphere. And even if you look at Donovan Mitchell, and this is not a slight to him in any means, he hasn't gone past the semifinals. He's blown a 25-point lead on the road and a chance to tie the series against the Los Angeles Clippers because Terrence Mann dropped 40. If we're looking at the track record of all of these players, the guy with the most winning experience is Kenny Atkinson. But still, this is Kenny Atkinson's first year as a head coach. When you're with Steve Kerr, life is good. You got KD, Steph, Clay, Iguodala, Draymond, Boogie. Life is amazing. You got Patrick McCaw, Jordan Bell, Quinn Cook, Maurice Spates, David West. Life is amazing. Now you got to be the helm of the ship. And in that first round series against the Miami Heat, you were not battle tested. You were not tested in any capacity that would say, okay, these guys have the experience to be the Pacers. They had the roster, but again, this Indiana team already been to the Eastern Conference Finals. They were plays away from taking games off of the Boston Celtics without Tyrese Halliburton. Imagine if they had Tyrese. They were realistically a closeout away from going up 1-0 against the Boston Celtics if Jaylen Brown didn't hit a crazy double clutch 3. But still, this Pacers team had way more experience. If we're just being honest, in the playoffs, outside of talent, the thing it comes down to is experience. And you cannot tell me that the Cleveland Cavaliers had playoff experience to the point where we're looking at them saying, yeah, that's an Eastern Conference favorite going into the season before the 15-0 start. Obviously, what the Cavs showed in the regular season was great, but going into the season, nobody had them on the level that they actually were able to reach this year. Look at a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, though. They're different. They're a Western Conference Finals team. Chris Finch told them all season, are you a team that happened to make the Western Conference Finals, or are you a Western Conference Finals team? If the Wolves got first rounded by a lower seed, then yeah, I'd be like, dang, that's crazy. They didn't meet expectations, and they were fully healthy. It's like the Los Angeles Lakers losing to the Phoenix Suns in the first round because AD was hurt, but also because they won the championship last year. There was a lot more scrutiny. When I say last year, I mean 2020, obviously. If you have a crazy fall from grace, you could say the Warriors failed in 2023 when they did not repeat. I'm not saying a repeat is the only thing that makes a season successful, but when you're a finals team and then your roster doesn't really change, the only thing that changes is the dynamic that Draymond Green put into place, and then you lose to the Lakers, yeah, we can say, that team didn't meet expectations. And people were talking about repeat when the Golden State Warriors won the ring in 2022. I remember seeing it all over ESPN, even when we lost Otto Porter, even when Bielita didn't come back to the team. They were talking about a repeat. They got JaMychal Green, they got other pieces, they got DiVincenzo. People were talking about a repeat. That's a season where we can say they didn't meet our expectations. The Cleveland Cavaliers were a second round exit last year, not fully healthy. They weren't fully healthy this year, and they got beat in the second round. How is that disappointing? To Cavs fans, I completely get it. You're seeing the same script over and over and over again. It's like the GM sold your team's future for that 3-1 comeback, which is kind of funny. But still, this is not a failure of a season. You had a great season with Garland and Mitchell. being a great backcourt. Mobley Defensive Player of the Year. Jared Allen is finding himself. You got DeAndre Hunter, Max Strus, Ty Jerome. He let 80 million slip, but maybe he just underplayed so he could still stay on the Cavs. Who knows? It could be a bigger picture going on. My point is, it's not a failure if you perform the same way you did last year. People fell way too in love with the narrative of Believeland being back, of Cleveland being back. And in my opinion, I thought the Cavs were back too, and they still are back. They're a crazy stacked team, but you need that experience, and losses like this is where that experience happens. With that being said though, guys, that is going to do it for us today. And look, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan since 2012, a Boston Celtics fan since 2008. I am defending the Cleveland Cavaliers because some of this just got out of hand. This is not a failure of a season. It's disappointing, but they did not underperform. They performed the same way they did last year, and that's fine. Teams need to have these losses to learn and grow. This was the first season they were fully healthy. There was a lot of things. There was a lot of things going on with the Cavs this year. They did great. Nothing to be ashamed of. Yes, disappointed, but nothing to say we failed at. We got to give this team some time, man. They're a young core. They've got great talent, a great coach. First-year coach, though. And we got to keep that in mind. Again, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we will see you all in the next one.